Hello, film world. I am the Patrick, your host of Tomorrow Comes Movies, the podcast that, spoiler, talks movies. And each episode, I'll be joined by a guest co-host, a collection of movie fans of varying degrees. We're back, and we're concluding April and its movie series on addiction, which is called Addiction Ain't No Joke. And if you ask me, we're going out with a grand finale. My guest co-host picked a phenomenal film, and I cannot wait to talk about it with them. Now, before we do that, I want to share one thing for you. This episode might be a little different than the previous ones because it's going to be an audio-only release. So no worries if I put it up on YouTube and you're like, where's the video? Not for this release. So no worries. I saved you some time. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest co-host for this episode. Please help me welcome my awesome Twitter mutual who helped change how I would see movies in theaters after one exchange in DMs. Please welcome the awesome Ayana. How are you doing?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on to the show. And I had to ask you how to pronounce your name because I've had issues in the past with actors that I could not pronounce their name. One of them, I never released the interview. Not sure why we didn't do it, but are you familiar with Kevin Smith's Clerks?
Yes.
Now, if you remember Veronica, Marilyn Gigliotti, she played the one that made him lasagna. And I'm doing an interview with her, and I can't say her name. I asked, have her repeat it a couple times, and in the recording, I believe she walks me through it because it was like after a while I could not get it, and so I always remember it now. Marilyn Gigliotti. And so I didn't want to go through that experience again because it was really I felt so bad because I don't think it's that hard to say, but it felt like it because I kept going like Marilyn Gigliotti, and she's like no. But she was really nice about it. So yeah, I always like to ask people their names because I have a last name that people will mispronounce, even though it's written just how you're supposed to say it. Like it's two words put together. I don't understand why people always try to sound fancy, and I'm just like, just say it the way it's spelled, please. It's not difficult. You know, I mean, there's an E. Use it. But
yeah,
I am happy to have you on, and I do have some questions for you as we do a little introduction. I want people to get to meet anybody that comes onto the show before we do a movie review. And you were lucky, by the way, because the last two people did not get the questions in advance. But yeah, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Now, this one I'm curious on if this one will be. Like, I want to see if you remember anything, but do you remember how we met or a specific interaction or a post that you kind of responded to?
Yeah, I do. It was the movie Hurry Up Tomorrow. Do you remember with Jenna Ortega, Barry Keoghan, and The Weeknd? That was our first interaction. Because I remember I had just come out of that movie and I hopped on Twitter and I was like, it's terrible. You were like, what happened there? And I was like, I don't know. That was our first interaction.
You know, I got to be honest. Until you brought up the movie, I was like, wait, hold on. And then I remember asking what happened because I wrote that's my longest letterbox review for a movie that I barely gave 3 stars to. I was so perplexed to why The Weeknd would not go deeper. I was like, come on, we're here. Let's do it. It's okay. I'm not going to judge you. It
just felt like a vanity project, you know? I don't know. I don't know what happened with that movie. I really don't. I had high hopes, but just it didn't hit.
I showed up for Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan. I got to defend Jenna Ortega for that flub. My interaction with you, I wonder if you remember this. The movie Caught Stealing.
Yeah.
You had sent me a DM that they were doing advanced showings, and it was like a 7:00 at night. And I don't do late showings because I had two dogs. I was like, okay, I'm gonna flock out to see this early, and I was like, hey, thanks for letting me know. But I didn't know that particular encounter between us would help me go to night shows moving forward. Because the next month, I think it was, I'm doing Regal's month of masterpieces, and I'm going to
Uh-huh.
every movie back. But yeah, Caught Stealing was really good, and it's probably a good thing that you did tell me to go check this out early, that it was available, because I was like, oh man, this movie's really good. I'm gonna watch it again. I never saw it again after that preview showing. I had given up doing multiple watching the same movie over and over. But I don't know. Did you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was really limited. Um that movie, I felt like my Regal didn't even show it. I had to go to a smaller movie theater. Only had like 10 theaters, and they've been really good lately, but just like finding the really smaller films that are having a limited release. Um yeah. And I think eventually Regal did. It was really like just one or two shows though for Caught Stealing.
Yeah, that's a problem that we're having these movies being released, and
Mm,
it's like kind of like you're playing, like Where's Waldo looking for a movie, which is strange because I don't know about you, but when I was coming up, man, they had so many, showtimes were available. Like when I worked at a movie theater, Avatar was in theaters for 6 months. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, which makes me feel old now that I just said that because it seems like yesterday. It's not. It's
we're about
like,
the same age. No, I understand.
oh, are we? Okay, so you do remember the
Yeah.
days of
Mm-hmm.
years in their prime when it was so much. Like you didn't have to go the first 2 weeks, right? You could have just
No.
waited it out.
You could go a month
Yeah,
later.
yeah. You remember those days when you could just go a month? You didn't have to like scurry to the movie theater. We had
Oh
it so
yeah.
good. And what happened to those days?
Limited theatrical releases happened and streaming and a whole bunch of other stuff.
What film or films made you realize you love movies?
Shirley Temple. So I'm a younger millennial, which is weird because I feel like an older millennial, but we still had like VHSs. My mom had like a platform like TV, the heavy one, you know what I mean? With like the wood around it, like early 90s kind of television. And we had a VHS player, which was kind of fancy back then. And she had the whole Shirley Temple collection. And I was just fascinated. The dance sequences, the comedy, the acting, and I would just watch it over and over again. Which is This is an interesting story as well. So I didn't know that I couldn't see until I was like 5. So I was not seeing that movie with clear vision at all. But it was just something about it. Yeah. So Shirley Temple was definitely my first earliest memory of like loving film, and also her contributions to film as a child actor as well. It's incredible.
She's a legend. I wasn't expecting Shirley Temple, and I love that because that shows you that you have experienced older cinema, which a lot of people aren't. But you said you didn't realize you could see until 5. Like, could you see the image? Was it kind of blurry?
I have astigmatism. So yeah, I didn't know what I was seeing wasn't normal until I got to like school. And the teacher was like, she's smart, she's struggling. And then my mom was like, huh, yeah, like, but it wasn't until I was doing my homework with my mother where, we're going over math problems and I was like this close to the paper. And then
Mm.
it clicked and she was like, you can't see. And I was like, I don't know. Can I? I don't, what I'm seeing is what I think is normal. And then they took me to the doctor and she was like, yeah, she has a terrible astigmatism. Like it's not bad, but like she can't see. She hasn't been able to see for like her whole life. And I was like, oh, here we go. So, and
Well,
there were some
and
other early signs as well. So like when I was younger, when I would watch movies, because we had like that platform TV, it was big, but like because I had that astigmatism, I would get extremely close to the TV. My mom used to make jokes like, "Oh, your father wasn't a glass maker," because I would be like this close to the television, just in there. Yeah,
wow.
I know.
Well, so it must have been Leaf when you went to the doctor and you were able to get glasses. I'm assuming, and then you rewatch Shirley Temple. It's like a whole new experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything 2020. Yeah. I mean, it was so young. I was like about 4 or 5, so it was like, your memories start around there. So like, I don't remember not being able to see still, but yeah, yeah, I know.
That reminds me not as much as that, but like when I was in the 2010s, I was watching one of the Mission Impossible movies, or maybe it was Night and Day. It was a Tom Cruise movie, and the sequences are action, so it's moving so fast that I'm like try to keep up, and I'm like, what is happening here? And then like an ex girlfriend or a girlfriend at the time was like, I think you need to go get some, you get your eyes checked because you don't wear glasses, and then lo and behold, I'm in glasses since, but I guess I don't have a very um like I don't have my vision's pretty good. I just need some clarity because my
Hmm.
eyes too hard. But yeah, when I put those glasses on, I was like, it was a whole new, ballpark for me with movies. It was nice because, I mean, I could keep up for a little bit, but after a while, I was just like, can you guys stop moving? Because I can't see what's Tom,
Hmm.
slow down, running too fast, please. Like, the Patrick can't keep up with you. But wow, the old school TV, I love the old school TV. I love that era. I know that it is a long time ago, but man, it was just a fun time because you didn't have all the stuff that we have today, so you had to cherish that TV. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Oh man, I would kill to have one of those TVs today. Well, I wouldn't kill, but I sure as hell would buy one. That's Adderall. Like I will kill for one of those.
Hmm.
Definitely love to own those again, but then I'm pretty sure within 10 minutes, I'm like, this isn't clear enough for me. I need to get another
Yeah.
TV. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shirley Temple. I haven't seen a Shirley Temple in a long time, but she is an icon. We don't talk about her as much anymore, and we should, right? Because she's probably, if arguably, with the greatest child actor, right?
Yeah, I think she's still alive too. Is she? I don't know.
If
I
she
feel like I
is,
would have remembered her dying, is the thing. So I feel like she is.
yeah, that would be a good question. Yeah, is she still alive? And if she is, she's probably having like a good day right now because you brought her up. Like she's like, she doesn't even realize it. She's like, I'm feeling pretty good today
She's
because
on a
somebody remember.
podcast.
Yeah,
Hmm.
wow, Temple. Now you did kind of allude, but you still go to the movies, correct?
All the time. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm Regal Unlimited, so I'm there 4 or 5 times a week. If there's, I can still be a little bit picky about movies, but yeah, I often spend about 4 or 5 times at the movies a week.
Do you deal with a lot of the bad theater etiquette?
Mm-mm. So I'm fortunate in that I have a 16 theater Regal with an IMAX, but at the same time, it's not ever super busy. It actually sometimes worries me because I'm like, this place is gonna get shut down. But I think that IMAX is it's the only one in our county, and I think it's keeping it alive. Because they have some really good competitions. I kind of split my time between 2 movie theaters. We have like a more smaller movie theater called Warehouse Cinemas, and they only have 10 theaters. It's like a warehouse theme. Like the entrance is like how you open up a warehouse shipping uh cart, and it's really fancy actually. They have heated seats, reclined seats, open bar, a beer tap wall, gourmet food that's not super expensive. They even have like signature drinks for new movie releases every week. Like it's yeah. I'm like, Regal. I don't know. I'm kind of concerned because I'm like that they're on it. They're really on it. So I kind of split my time between the two. If it's a big release, then if it's a big release and I'm okay with not seeing it in IMAX, I will go to Warehouse. Otherwise, I probably will just stick with Regal. But yeah.
We're getting to that
Hmm.
summer prime blockbuster era, if it's still around. What movies are you looking forward to that are coming out soon?
Oof. I'm appropriate, but I'm a big Anne Hathaway fan. So Devil Wears Prada 2. Um, Backrooms. I'm really interested in. Mortal Kombat. What else? I feel like I'm missing something. I already saw one that's coming out saw it early, but it's coming out in May. Hokum, might see it again.
Ooh.
I'm still. That was really scary though. I'm lying. I'm not seeing it again. It's still. I saw it last Monday, and I've had trouble sleeping for 3 nights. Like, yeah, it
Oh,
was really 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 good. And I'm very particular about horror because I'm a scaredy cat, but I appreciate the genre. Um, and that was a phenomenal movie.
that's one I want to see because I think it's from the same director who did Oddity, and I saw that
Mm-hmm.
twice. But the reason why is because I wanted the Deadpool and Wolverine AMC bucket with the Wolverine mouth, with his mouth. And I missed like 40 minutes of Oddity waiting in line, and I was like, I get in there and I'm like, what's happening here? And so I felt like I was obligated to go back and watch it. You said Mortal Kombat. That sequel has taken forever to come out.
Yes,
I
and you
feel
know
like.
what? I have a crazy story about this. It's funny how life works. So the first one came out during the pandemic. It's supposed to get, of course, a release in theaters, and the pandemic happened. And I'm part of an organization, Women in Film and Television, which has chapters actually all over the world. But I'm like more of a local chapter, DC. And we just had a award ceremony, and one of the executives was with New Line Cinemas, and she was the one responsible for getting that movie released. Was Mortal Kombat, the first one, and the studios did not want it. She struggled really really badly with getting that movie released, and she literally came up with this genius way of doing it, which was it was some kind of like um mutual agreement with Australia, where they would actually whatever like she was whatever the cost of the movie was, they would match. And that was how she was able to get it made and produced and released, even though it didn't get in the theatrical release. And I think it was $50 million they matched. It went straight to HBO Max, which was great for me because I could, got to watch it at home. But I am happy the second one is getting a theatrical release for sure because I enjoyed the first one. I was a huge fan of the game. I'm not very good at games, but that was one game I was good at.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I love those stories in the background because a lot of people in the film community are unaware of how difficult Hollywood is, especially for women, whether it's in front of the screen or behind the screen. It's crazy. Some of the stories I've heard, I'm like, what? And Mortal Kombat, I did like the first one. It took like 2 watches because the first time I'm like, and then the second time I'm like, okay, I like this. I met Louis Tan. I did an interview with Louis Tan at a convention, and I don't know if you've ever done interviews, but my goodness, that is a process because when you're nobody, you're getting told
Uh-huh.
you got 2 minutes, and I'm like, what am I supposed to ask him in 2 minutes? So we did it. He's super nice, and this was for Deadpool 2, but I was happy to see him get Mortal Kombat because I've always thought Louis Tan was a really good actor, and I am excited. I love Carl Urban, so I know people are saying he looks old for Johnny Cage. I don't care. He looks perfect to me as Johnny Cage. I'm really excited for him. The Devil Wears Prada 2, somewhat excited. Because I don't know if it needed a sequel, but I love
Mm-hmm.
Meryl Streep can do, like, in my opinion, she might be the greatest actor's actor. I will die on a hill for her. And I get a lot of flack for this because people are like, she's not a good actor. And I'm like,
What? I've never heard someone say that.
oh, I've heard many people say it to me. I interacted with a lot of people who are not super big in the movies, but they're not really familiar with her stuff. And I'm like, Sophie's Choice, and they're like, never saw that, and they're like, she just doesn't really make really good movies. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's Complicated was a big deal for me when that came out. I love that movie. I know it's not the greatest. Goodness, I love Meryl Streep. But yeah, I'm excited for The Devil Wears Prada 2 for the fact that Emily Blunt is a lot bigger
Mm-hmm.
now. So it should be kind of fun to see her with a more, expansive role. But yeah, I'm going to watch it regardless. I think it's going to do really well in the box office, and I'm happy for that. I love Anne Hathaway, another actor who gets a lot of flack too. Just strange. One of the best actors of her generation, and people don't like her. Strange. But Yeah, I did see you went to a party that you were talking
Mm-hmm.
about. Did you like? How was that? It's got to be fun, right?
Yeah, no, it was really fun. So as a member, I was invited. It was at the National Museum of Women History in DC. It's my first time there. Surprisingly, I don't. There's a lot of museums in DC, but it was beautiful. Felicia Rashad was honored. Kate Beta. It's another producer. She's audio. Like forgetting her name, but she was fantastic as well. And they were just honored in their contributions to cinema. Um, and yeah, it was great. It was fun. It's only about 3 hours, and I love that in the gift bag they actually had a DVD and whiskey. And I was like, two of my favorite things. Cool, cool, cool.
Wow. I've always wanted to do that kind of stuff. So, what are some of your favorite movies? This is gonna be a little bit long. It's gonna be like like 3 or 4 questions in one. What are some of your favorite movies, actors, actresses, movie directors slash writers? That might have been 5 in one.
Whew. My favorite movies shift so much that I can't even just say one. Um, I would say my favorite genre though is definitely going to be drama or dramedy. As far as actresses, I'm really just absorbing as much Danielle Detweiler as I can. I'm really enjoying what she's doing right now. She's a new movie coming out with Adam Scott, who's also in Hokum, called The Saviors, and she's also on Roosters on HBO Max, and she's about to do the X Files reboot. So I'm just trying to like take in as much of her work as I can before the reboot as well. But she's one of my favorite. Obviously, Anne Hathaway, um, Austin Butler. I just don't think he has any misses, to be honest. Like he's just doing generational work right now. As far as directors, Christopher Nolan, yeah. Joaquin Trier right now is a favorite. Um, Even his, I know right now he's writing The High of Sentimental Value, but please, everyone, go see his other works. Particularly Oslo, August 31st, which also covers the topic of addiction. One of the best films I've ever seen in covering that topic. Let me see who else. Spike Lee. Um, yeah, I have a lot. I try to keep it pretty diverse as well.
Wow, exquisite taste. But I think Austin Butler's one of the best actors of his generation. I agree with you. I'm excited for what he does next. Spike Lee is one of the greatest. I mean, I could sit here all day and tell you. I saw Do the Right Thing in theaters back in September. That was an experience, and I think everybody needs to watch that movie because we're clearly failing in life, and it's so relevant. Even though it came out in I believe it came out in '89. So I mean, yeah, exquisite taste. Deadweiler. That's her last. That's how to say her name, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how I've heard it. He said
You always hear me ask because I can't. And then I think you said Trier. Yeah, I didn't know how to say his name.
Trier.
Trier. There
I
you go.
had
I
to
didn't.
learn it when I did my Golden Globe predictions last year, or no, that was this year, very early in this year. But yeah, I made sure to learn it because I was like, I'm gonna mispronounce this.
I only have seen Sentimental Value, but I want to see his other movies because I really love that movie. Deadweiler might be
You're
one of
gonna.
those actors
Hmm.
needs to get bigger. Okay, I seen her in a few things. The piano. I think it was the piano lesson. This was called.
Hmm.
Phenomenal. I saw her a woman. I think it's a woman in the yard or the woman in the yard. That was
Yes.
okay, but she was phenomenal. And I sit there and wonder why she's not become bigger because there's actors that are good, there's actors that are great, and then there's just actors on a whole nother level. And her commitment to the performances. But yeah, let's see what else here. You said dramedy is your favorite genres.
Yes. Hmm.
What about least favorite?
I would maybe satire because that's so subjective a lot of the times. but I'm still trying to be better with horror. So what happened with horror was I saw The Grudge when I was like 13. No, I was traumatized. I don't think I saw another horror movie for a long time after that. So, and then of course I went to film school, so we're forced to study the genre. But for a long time that was probably my least favorite, but no longer, I would say for sure.
You went to film school. How was that?
It was amazing. Yeah, yeah. I went to film school. I first got my associates in digital media design, which pretty much covered a good portion of film, of course, and then more extensive. I went to film school. I did a portion of that degree abroad at University of Sunderland, where I studied film there in England, which was very different but very rewarding. I had professors who knew Hitchcock and wrote books on him, and yeah, it was incredible.
I wanted to go to film school. I wanted to do what you did. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a rambler, but I love to get to know
Hmm.
you because there's I didn't even know, and I'm finding out like Mortal Kombat 2 with your film school. I kind of brought this up a little bit, but do you collect ticket stubs or do you have any still?
I'm trying to be better about it. Um, I used to when I was much younger. When it was more, we were all more in the practice of getting them. But now with apps, and you just buy your ticket and you scan it, and then you just go in the movie theater. And yeah, if it's something I'm really, really looking forward to, like Oppenheimer, it was like my most anticipated film before it came out. Like I try and keep those. I'm really good with other stuff though. So like Broadway play booklets I'll keep. Um Plane ticket boarding passes I'll keep, especially if they're abroad, things like that. I just started getting into vinyl, collecting those. So I'm slowly getting back into collecting physical media. And then with everything going on with streaming, it's like I'm very concerned and definitely I'm worried about, media disappearing because we've seen that, how they just are choosing to not release things for a tax break, and it's just gone. All that work people, and I started off as a production assistant on films and TV, and just imagine working on a project for 8 months and it just never sees the day of light. That's heartbreaking.
It is, and it's easy to be, just somebody reacting to the news. You're not part of it, and you're like, "That's a bummer. We need to," but like to actually be part of it and then find out like it's not happening, that is heartbreaking. And you're right though about the physical media. Like there's things that are not even released. Like Melissa Barrera's Your Monster or David Johnson's Rylane. Neither one was released on physical media. Well, actually, Your Monster is in the UK, so I bought a region-free Blu-ray player so I can start buying from the UK, which I have, and that has solved some of the issues. But yeah, physical media, and you collect movies too, right?
Yes, yes. Not fairly often in the last like maybe 5-6 years, but up until about I want to say 2014, I was pretty consistently collecting it. But yeah, life, obviously not having space as well too. So
Space is the big one, right? That's what it comes down to. Space. I was a madman when it came to buying in the 2010s. I'm talking about big lots, even gas stations. This is true. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and I remember going in to the gas station and immediately going to the bin, not putting the money for the gas or whatever we need to buy. And I remember her being like, "Whoa, whoa, come here, come here! No, no, no! Don't pick up anything from that bin," because I would go crazy. Like, but I have been a little bit better with my physical media collecting. Is trying to collect what I really want. Wow, you're really multifaceted. I need to get more back into things outside of movies. I'm just currently consumed with movies that I've neglected TV. As actually, that's funny. I think we've had interactions about me not watching TV, and you have a podcast. Can you talk a little
hmm
bit about
yeah, it's called A Fresh Breath of TV, and we cover just kind of the latest in TV and film, which sometimes converges, especially around award season, because both are for most part covered. Um, but yeah, we just talk about what we're watching, recommendations. I'm going to be starting to do more film festivals, covering those more as well. I plan on going to Televerse, which is a new thing that the Television Academy is doing. They did the first one last year. I was all set to go, and then I got sick and couldn't go. And the Television Academy actually reached out and was like, "We're so sad you couldn't make it," and sent me this beautiful handwritten like letter. It was amazing. So I'm going back out this year for that to cover some TV panels. So I'm really excited for that as well.
Wow. I do need to check out your podcast because I'm nervous if it's TV because I won't know anything. Now, can you talk a little bit about like do you have like a favorite experience of going to the movie theater?
Yes. I'll share two of them. You're involved in the second one actually. The first one, just this past Halloween, um, one of the local movie theaters was able to actually get Frankenstein, which had a limited theatrical release on Halloween. They only had like two showings, and it was sold out. It was a full house Halloween Frankenstein, and I loved it. I loved the movie. Um, and that was just, excuse me, really, really cool experience. Um, as far as the second one was, you're involved in this one because it was Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest. I had been wanting to see that so badly, and it was also a limited theatrical release. And I was like, I'm just not going to see it. Like, it's just not showing locally. And I happened to be at the U.S. Open in New York to see the U.S. Open that Labor Day weekend, which is when it was showing. And I saw you had just like literally came out of seeing the movie, and I was like, wait. I think I might have responded. I was like, I can see that movie. I'm in New York, and I looked up the closest one, and it was Times Square, and I went to go see it, and it was incredible, and it was so New York, and like being in New York and seeing it was crazy because I had just taken the same train I think was in the actual movie. I'm not going to spoil too much, but there's this incredible scene, like it was an actual like chase with Denzel Washington, where he's chasing someone through the actual subway train while also being like juxtaposing a Puerto Rican day parade. And it was just like the music and the tension, and yeah, it was just a phenomenal experience to see that in New York.
I do remember that it came back to me I was like, yeah, because there was somebody who wanted to see it. Yeah, I was really fortunate to catch it. Another night showing. Like I said, if it wasn't for Caught Stealing, I don't think I would have done it. But I was like, this is my opportunity. I think I saw it twice because the first time I saw it, there was a lot of happy people and they're kind of interacting. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love that. I love seeing people. It's not ruining my experience, but I wanted to kind of go back and absorb it one more time. But yeah, that movie, I liked it. I mean, I prefer if I had to choose, yeah, it's not a full remake. It's kind of a little different. I do like Akira Kurosawa's, but I love Spike Lee's version because I ain't gonna lie to you, I love that ASAP Rocky song of his character. I was bumping that for
Oh
probably
yeah,
3-4 months
I
straight, like
was
watching
too.
the song and just kind of. But I think the most exciting experience for me was like I got to experience Spike Lee and Denzel in a movie together because I had, by the time I was really going to the movies that I can remember, some of their best movies were before, like I was really young, and so
Hmm.
I was super excited because to me they're magic, that's a collaboration, like that's an actor, director, writer combo that I don't think misses at all, and yeah, I'm glad that you saw it. I'm glad that I saw it. I'm glad you saw Frankenstein too. Those are movies that deserve a full theatrical, release because these are two of the best directors of all time. Guillermo del Toro, Spike Lee, like they deserve better than what they're getting. And so, okay, this one's pretty funny. This question: you can only keep 5 of the 6 movies I'm going to give you, and whatever one you don't pick is going to be eliminated forever. And if I think it's the one you're going to pick, we'll see. If not, I'll tell you which one I would eliminate. But here are the 5 movies, or 6 movies, excuse me. 6 movies. You can only keep 5. Here are the movies, and then you tell me which of them has to go. Menace to Society, Roman Holiday, Inception, Enter the Dragon, Psycho, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Pee-wee gotta go. That was hard though.
Okay, same answer here. I saw it in theaters in January. And this can happen sometimes. I'll watch a movie where I'm really tired. I don't know. I know it's a classic. My goodness, I was having a hard time in that movie because I wanted to put Pee Wee through a table.
Mm-hmm. It's very specific kind of humor. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I get out of the movie, right? And I'm kind of pissed off. I was really not happy with Pee Wee, and I'm like, so I get home and I start Googling. I'm like, why is this in the Criterion Collection? Because I didn't understand. And then I read about the themes and I go, maybe I should rewatch that. Maybe if because I had seen clips or like parts of it as a kid, but I never fully watched it, but people love it. People.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a fan of it?
Yes and no. The humor I struggle with a little bit. It's very subjective. It's not for everybody, I respect it though because of the themes that it covers. But if I had to pick, I'm kicking it out.
I am too. I was kind of nervous, so I'm curating this question for you. I'm picking movies from different eras, and I'm kind of getting nervous as I'm writing. I'm like, is Roman Holiday or Enter the Dragon going to be kicked out of here because people love
No.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure? And I was just like, well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I had to throw that in there because maybe I should rewatch it. I don't know. Do you think I should rewatch it? Because I was really angry after I got out of that movie because I just so fed up with him.
I mean, it depends if you feel like you should. Sometimes initial reactions can just be what they are, It really depends. I don't know.
Because have you seen the movie Friendship from A24 last year?
No.
I saw that, and I think it's Tim Robinson, his name is, with Paul Rudd.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that movie. I walked out really pissed off. I don't know. I always say, like, you can get mad at movies, but I was pretty fed up with that movie, too. And then somebody was like, are you out of your mind? That movie's hilarious. So I go, okay, let me go watch it again. I'm laughing. That second time, you couldn't tell that I did not like that. I was dying because I guess once I understood what was happening, because I'm really, really tough on comedy. If I don't find something funny, I'm done with it.
I'm same way here.
Yeah. And I'm notorious on Twitter where people are like, there's a movie that comes out. I'm like, it's all right. I did it with The Naked Gun. It was good. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I made it sound like I didn't like it, but I did. But yeah, 6 months from now, you're going to see a post that says new Criterion Hall. And you're going to see Pee-wee's. And you're going to be like, hey, hold on a second. That's not what you were telling me.
You walked out of that movie mad. What happened?
Yeah, so that concludes the introduction, and I do apologize if this is long, but I really enjoy talking with you, and truthfully, I'm learning stuff about everybody who's come on the show. I've learned things that I didn't know, and truth be told, this is the first time you and I have actually kind of met face to face. This is, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that it's rolling because I always get nervous when I come on here that it's gonna bomb. I'm gonna bomb. I'm just gonna stand here like this with you. And you're going to be like 14, not even 15, 14 minutes in and be like, okay, are we doing this? Because I see record and it's just like, yeah. But we're gonna review a movie. It's part of my monthly series. Addiction ain't no joke. And I've said this before. It is a double negative on purpose, people. It is. Like, I don't need you to come and tell me that it's, you don't need those two words. I'm like, I did it purposely because these movies are tackling addiction, different types of addiction, and they're pretty intense situations. And I gave you a list of movies. So you chose Rachel Getting Married. And I haven't seen this in a long time. So I was very excited when you chose this because I just bought it on Blu-ray last year. So I'm going to give the movie facts real quickly here, and then we're going to go straight into the review. And these are the movie facts. Released in 2008 from Sony Picture Classics. You would think I rehearsed the way I have to look at this. I rehearsed this for 2 hours straight, and yet I have to look at it. directed by Jonathan Demme. He did The Silence of the Lambs and Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Jenny Lumet, who I thought was related to Sidney Lumet, but isn't. She's written on Star Trek Discovery. Maybe you're familiar. I'm not as familiar with television. Starring Anne Hathaway, Rosemary DeWitt, Deborah Winger, and Bill Irwin. And the synopsis of this movie is a woman named Kim who's been in and out of rehab returns home for her big sister's, or is it her big sister? Maybe. Or just her
Yes.
sister's wedding. Yeah, it was big sister, right?
Yeah.
And now look over here. If you haven't seen Rachel Getting Married, I think you need to watch it. So press pause here, press play on the movie, and then come back. Or not, and then we'll just talk about it, and you'll just be lost. All right, now back to you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's talk movies. Of course you're ready for this. I'm looking at sometimes I just want you to know I'm looking at you, but sometimes I'll look at the recording or just make sure everything's not going, because I've had it freeze when I've done some things. But yeah, it's funny. I'm like, you ready to talk? You're like, yeah, I've talked about myself for an hour about you. Like, my goodness, go. So I gave you this list of movies, all addiction based. Were you aware of the theme, and also why did you choose the movie?
This was one of the ones I hadn't seen with Anne Hathaway, surprisingly. Which is crazy because she's a Golden Globe nomination, right? So, yeah, I was like immediately. I almost picked Beautiful Boy, but I had already seen it, and I was like, "That's too heavy." I still think about that particular scene of him in the bathroom of that restaurant too often. So I was like, I'm going to pick something I haven't seen before, and it's Anne Hathaway, and she just really hasn't provided a bad performance, in my opinion.
No. It's funny, if you would have picked Beautiful Boy, you would have had to hear me tell about the time I got into a car accident after watching it, and I was recording But back to Rachel Getting Married. So, being that you haven't seen it before, what were your first impressions of the movie after it ended?
Well done. I love how it delved into the familial dysfunction aspect of addiction. It's a very different role for Anne, obviously. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed particularly that it ended more on a hopeful note. Spoiler alert. But I feel like a lot of times in these films, in the um, I feel like in a lot of ways there's this way in which directors go about trying to make it as realistic as possible, and it can sometimes be the direction they go in and making it too realistic in that it ends in such a tragic way, which is, I mean, it is realistic, but it's sometimes you need that upper when telling a story about addiction. So
Yeah, I was pretty devastated. And I had seen this prior, but it was like a brand new experience because when I was a young the Patrick, this came out when I was working at a movie theater, but I don't remember it coming to our theater. But I had saw it with an ex-girlfriend who was like, "You haven't seen Rachel's Getting Married? You love Anne Hathaway." And we watched it, and I remember being like, "Wow, this is really good." But rewatching it, it felt like a new experience because I don't know if you have this, but you get older, you rewatch a movie, you have a little bit of life experience on your hand, you know, and then you're like, "Oh my god, this is surreal." For me, I didn't really deal with addiction at that point in my life. When I had saw it, I think I saw it in 2010. Not really, had to experience any addiction. Like, I had a family member who had addiction, but I never really dealt with them. Now, yeah, I have a lot of experience, especially with the family aspect, because and you can spoil. I forgot. I should have said this. You can spoil. You can talk about anything. I mean, that's on them if they haven't seen it. The thing about addiction is we're used to seeing movies based off of the actual addict. But in this movie, you get kind of like an in-depth look into something I think all of us can really relate to, is the family aspect, where it's very dysfunctional. There's things that are not being discussed. And then of course the how the family and the person who's in it, who's an addict, how they kind of have to be thrown back into the mix. And I really loved that whole thing. It kind of felt like, at times, it felt like it was, the way it was filmed was like if Cloverfield had a steady hand. There's no monster, obviously, but it was like
Yes.
that. And I love that aspect because it felt very personal and it felt very
Mm-hmm.
much like I was right there with them. And to experience that family, the family aspect really took a lot out of me because in addiction, we usually, deal with the actual addiction, but this is also really about recovery and how the addict has to navigate back into the real world after getting rehabilitated. And, you know, it's a lot harder. You're like, I got this. Like, we're all like this. We all, like, as soon as we actually have to deal with whatever we really do, no matter how much practice or, prep or getting better at something, like you get out there and it's a nightmare. So, I didn't even wrote this to you in the email. I'm devastated with no context. I just go, I'm devastated. Uh, yeah, it took a lot out of me. And you were right, Anne Hathaway. This is a definitive Anne Hathaway performance. And if you haven't
Yeah.
seen this and you're an Anne Hathaway fan, you're really missing out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. She just went 100% into just fully encapsulating someone going through addiction in the recovery process. And I just feel like she just gave it 100% from beginning to end. I also wonder, like, did she have a good break after this? Because I can imagine it was really taxing on her emotionally and physically.
Yeah, I mean that's an aspect of being an actor that I'm kind of experiencing is doing like really deep roles or being a part of a scene where somebody has to get really like we had to do crying recently. I didn't cry because I'm new. He didn't want to give it to me, but I had to do it with somebody and they really got into it, and I was just like, okay, yeah, they need like sometimes people need breaks because it gets whatever they're using to get this particular performance. It's a big toll, and with that what were some of the in Rachel Getting Married? What were some of the highlights for you, like specific scenes or anything?
Um, a really big one. So after the dinner, before the night before the wedding, that was a masterclass in acting. A bit of a climax of the movie, actually, as well, where they finally address feelings that they've been harboring for years in regards to her brother Ethan and her recovery and constant recovery, or rehab visits. Um, just they covered a myriad of just everything that had been going on. And just Rosemary DeWitt. That was her time to shine, and she absolutely nailed it. Um, that scene definitely stood out to me.
Yeah, it does. And Rosemary DeWitt's been an actor that I saw so much throughout the 2010s, and always that character actor that is going to be good. But you're right. Here she gets to shine. It's one of those things where you watch it and you go, she should have been bigger. She has the
Mm-hmm.
capabilities when a lot more to do. I always love the arguments. I'll be honest. I love watching. It's weird to say that, but I do love watching it because it really helped the story one, and also helped the audience kind of figure out what is going on. And also, I love movies that make you reflect inwards. Right? You start thinking about your own
Mm-hmm.
life. I've played mediator, and I've been in these situations. I've always been a mediator. I'm never really into these because I don't really do this kind of thing. Because I feel the best way to handle things is to talk about it, even if it's really uncomfortable, even if it gets a little intense. As long as
Yeah.
everyone can just be cool and let the others talk, and we kind of do it, And so I like that because a lot of the arguments really showcase the dynamics that so many of us can relate to. The difference in treatment with siblings, right? That was a big one that I constantly was like, oh yeah, that's really relatable. Parents and how they treat certain kids,
Mm-hmm.
and then dealing with tragedies. And then also the fact that when they don't deal with their unresolved trauma within different family members or the addict, that was another thing I really liked. So I think the one highlight that I'll really pick out is when they're going to the hair salon, or they're at their hair salon, and she's Kim, Anna Hathaway's character, has stuff in her hair, and that gentleman sees her, and in my mind starts racing because I remember key details of the movie, but I just didn't remember that specific scene, and my heart starts racing. I'm like, oh no, like, is this from her past? Is this going to go bad? Like, he recognizes her. And the way that is filmed, the way those two actors, and even Rosemary DeWitt in the background, the way she's looking, it's in sync. Perfect beats. Everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing because that scene creates so much tension. And then when he's talking, you still can't figure out what is happening. And then when he finally, like, it's revealed, I was just like, Kim, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me that you came up with this?
Listen, in the first half, I believed him. I said, girl, this is what's going on, and that was the catalyst. And then it turns out that was all a lie. Wow. I was with Rachel on that one. I said, why would you do that? You know, like, I understand why, but it's just, I understand that immediate reaction from Rachel. Because, wow, I mean, to make that up.
Yeah. I mean, my heart sank too when you believe it, because they do a good job. You kind of believe it, and you go, oh, that would everything with Kim. Because we're still trying to figure out the details. It's kind of trickled along. We kind of pick it up as we go. And then when we find out it's not true, yeah, Rachel wasn't wrong. I don't know if I would have left her at the salon. I'll be honest. I'm one of those people, like, I always think about the other person, even when I'm upset. Like, are they going to be able to get home? I'm not, I can check the emotions at the door, but I don't blame Rachel for leaving because that is a very serious thing to lie about, But I kind of felt bad for the gentleman, but not really, because I don't think he fully knew the truth, but it helped him in a way. But that shows you what addiction will do, that when they don't want to confront their problem, they'll come up with other excuses. And with this particular movie, the addiction isn't really, it's a focus. We know that. But in reality, it's really about how addiction is post somewhat recovery. Like, she's not fully recovered, but it shows her kind of coming back. And by the way, did you see in the beginning, did you see Sebastian Stan?
Oh yeah, it's in my notes. I was gonna circle back. Yeah, a great cameo.
Yeah, it was great. I was like Leo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I saw his name in the credits. But we'll come back to that real quick. But let's talk about, was there anything you didn't like about Rachel getting married?
No, I mean, I'm not gonna say any movie is 100% perfect, because I don't know that I believe in perfection, but I mean, I feel like they executed everything they wanted to do with this movie, with grief, recovery, family dynamics, and dysfunction. So, nothing really stood out in particular, actually, believe it or not.
I'm with you too. I was a little nervous because you went to film school, so I'm like, what if I don't have anything I don't like? The one thing I didn't like, it has nothing to do with the movie. It's just I didn't really particularly like the wedding cake. Like, I don't know if turmeric doesn't sound as delightful as, like, just a regular birthday cake, marble. Like, I don't know. Like, the cake looked beautiful, but I was just like, I don't have anything I didn't like about the movie. But it did. I think the thing about it just completely drained me, because I have so much experience in this, being part of a family, or being part of that group with the family. And I'm just like, it just kind of like hits you, like, it's like constantly just standing in the water at a beach, and you're getting hit with waves. It's just like, boom, like, enough. You know what I mean? Because the thing about it, though, I will say this: I wanted to exit the movie, but I had to do a review. But, like, it gets so draining after I had to pause, and I would write notes, because I'd be like, oh, remember this, and because it's a lot, and it can be difficult for some people if you experienced it. Now, what did you think of Jonathan Demme directing? Like, what his direction of this movie?
I loved it. It was so many small things. Obviously, you talked a little bit about it, was the camera and how important that was, because I think it was either steady cam, or just the camera pans just felt very almost first person, especially when the way it would follow behind Kim as she was moving throughout the movie. The audience was actually following her through her journey, almost quite literally, in the camera work, which I thought was really unique. As well as I feel like some of the direction he gave Anne was really nuanced. For example, how she was always kind of like on the peripheral, right? So like there'll be a conversation and she was just kind of like behind the circle of people, particularly in the dinner scene, with the smoking, and then also, during the dinner where she's on the other end of the table and she kind of has to kind of insert herself into the conversations and just kind of pop in between people to talk to them or who she wants to talk to, who she's closer with. I felt like that kind of direction just really worked so well with the movie and just kind of showing her isolation. While also, I mean, you can also make the case that Kim felt very smothered as well by her father as well. And, it was a very good parallel. I felt like he really worked into the movie.
Yes, actually, everything you said was pretty good because I was thinking about the dad. Oh my, who's also the voice of Tars in Interstellar, which made me. I constantly was geeking out when he would pop up on screen.
What?
Because,
I didn't know that.
yeah, he's the dad in Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas too. Yeah, she's always in the background, and a part of me, I don't know. I mean, I've been sat at tables where I'm with nobody I know. I don't know if I've ever got up and inserted myself into a conversation. It would have to be organic for me. I would just deal with it. I'm one of those people. I'll just deal with the uncomfortableness. And I did it for years, but now I won't do it. I'll just immediately just get up and be like, all right, I gotta go. But I mean, she can't just dip
Yeah.
out because if he does, they're all gonna freak out. Like, is this too much for her?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's constantly around, and there's a lot of times you can see a lot of the other people's reactions. And I felt like that sometimes with Kim. I like that about like she would get up and talk to people when she got the microphone at that one dinner, and I'm like cringing because it's falling flat, and you can see other people as soon as she grabs the mic. That was beautiful. Like you see people immediate reactions, and he captures it well. The actors do it well, but yeah, I thought he did a really good job. If it was filmed a little more polished, it would not have the same effect. It has to feel the way it does. Also, I don't know about you. Did you feel? I felt so old when they had those old camcorders. My goodness, we thought the coolest technology. I had one. Oh man,
the songs during the wedding, the dancing. I swear I heard Laffy Taffy or some kind of dance from '08, and I was like, wow, that just took me back.
I would be so lost when it comes to the dancing parts because I don't know why there's a legend about me that I'm a good dancer. Not sure why people say that. I've never got up and danced. I've never done any of that. I just refuse to go. If they would have started dancing, I would have probably just looked like Homer Simpson going into that grass, that gif. I just would have immediately dipped out because I didn't. I don't know how to dance. Are you a dancer?
Yeah. I enjoy a good dance.
That's what That's what it is. People who dance and people who don't dance. That says a lot about their lives. Now, what performances really stood out to you outside of Anne Hathaway?
Yeah, I would say obviously. She would. Yeah, I said this a little bit earlier, but like just she was full throttle the whole time, and just really being Kim. In just little small nuanced ways as well. Rosemary DeWitt, of course, was phenomenal. I'm gonna give a little small shout out to Emma. The actress played Emma because I did not like her, but we weren't supposed to because we were supposed to feel how Kim felt in that she was kind of taking the role of the sister from Kim. So well done to that actress because I did not like Emma. I will say that as well.
I didn't like her either. I was like, Emma, take a step back. Like she's like willing to throw out comments. I've never been like that. Like if I'm not happy with someone, I might voice it in private, or I might voice it to somebody like I'm close to and be like, don't say anything. But like I could not be throwing out comments, especially with someone who's an addict, because the last thing you want to do is to set them off. Because I can tell you, it will come back on you that you're the one that set them off. And I'm telling you, even if Rachel and Kim are dysfunctional, family will band together when stuff gets real. But I
Mm-hmm.
understand Emma's thing. You understand Emma, but you're right. You're kind of on Kim's side. Yeah, that was a good performance. I did like Bill Irwin, the dad. Because the way he would react to certain things, it was heartbreaking. Because I remember those of similar real life experience. I remember parents like that. He's a good dad. He tries his best. He's not perfect. He clearly has a lot of faults in those relationships. But when he did the plate challenge, which will come back later, but there's a part where he sees that, or like there's some argument is happening, and Kim's like, I didn't mean it like that, and he's like, just tell her. Like he gets so upset. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
a genuine reaction because we've all been there. You're kind of in the middle of something, and someone's like, I didn't mean it like that. Well, why didn't you just tell her? Why am I? Don't
Yeah.
make me be the mediator. I thought Rosemary DeWitt was great. I thought the dad was great, and Hathaway's amazing. I mean, like, I was so used to her in the Princess Diaries and stuff like that, and this is like the next step up for her. And
Mm-hmm.
like we'll have those actors that we know are gonna make the leap to be bigger, but she took the challenge. And this is a movie that if you saw the Princess Diaries and then you see this, you're kind of like, oh, this is not the Anne Hathaway that I know. But that's what you need as an actor. You have to play those type of roles. Some audiences don't like that. I like a actor who's gonna make me go, oh, I didn't think you were gonna do those type of movies, right? Like I don't know if you like that. I personally love it.
No, I love it too. And she's so good, and I feel like this is kind of her bag. It's more of the independent tour de force kind of roles where she gets to do so many different things. But she's so iconic that she kind of has to revisit these more iconic roles because we just can't get enough of her. But I feel like it's kind of where she's at right now in her career as well. Because I just saw Mother Mary, and I'm like, that was actually her best performance she's ever given, which is definitely more independent. And the physicality that she displayed in that movie was next level. But then she also has like 2 weeks later Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out because she's just like the diversity of her as an actress, and we just love those more iconic roles as well. So she's just gets to enjoy both the more independent roles as well as coming back for a second, third time, Princess Diaries 3, with the more iconic roles too.
Wow, I want to see Mother Mary, so I'm excited to hear this. Outside of the acting and the direction, what did you think about the writing?
Very good. What stood out was the monologue, of course, enhanced by Anne, but that monologue was frustrating. It was cringe. It was my moment where I was like, girl, don't do this. This is not the way to go about it. Like, I understand her intention of wanting to make amends and ask for forgiveness and her steps, but I was like, girl, Tim, you gotta read the room. You gotta read the room. And that monologue, hit its marks absolutely with this intent.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and a place for all that, and I don't know why, but I'm one of those people that I pay attention to those situations, and as soon as that's starting to get pretty bad, I have to be the person that gets up and interjects. Like it's like in Old School. It's a really strange movie to bring up into Rachel's Get Married, but in Old School, when Luke Wilson's drunk and he gets up to do the speech, and he's like, he mentions that his girlfriend was having like a gangbang, and then Vince Vaughn's character immediately grabs the microphone. He's like, and what he's trying to say is, love is, and it's like that's what I feel like I was waiting for somebody to do because it was going on too long. And
Uh-huh.
another part of it though, I wonder if you were like this too. I've kind of sympathized for Kim. I was frustrated with her, but I sympathize. Like she's trying to figure this out. You're putting yourself out there, and it's extremely tough to do because you look like a fool, truthfully. You know, but you just did it the wrong time, and I'm glad that in that scene it was uncomfortable, but nobody really made her feel worse about it. I'm pretty sure she was devastated
Yeah.
herself. Because what ensues after that, that huge fight with her sister. Did this film live up to your expectations before before you watched it? Did you have any expectations, and did it live up to it, or exceed it, or maybe not?
Um, yeah, it lived up to my expectations. I mean, again, you can't go wrong with Anne and Rose. And I started looking to cast when I was, about to hit play, and I was like, yeah, this is. I don't expect to not enjoy this movie based on the cast, the director, and the actresses, and the writing, and it hit all of those, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first time I saw it, I was kind of like, I was a little snobbish back in the day, and I was just like, okay, let's see, show me what you got. Well, I looked like a fool when that was done because I was like, oh my god, that was phenomenal. Now, in terms of addiction, now we don't really ever see her really use. We kind of know what she's done, but in your mind, what do you think from a scale 1 to 10 throughout this movie? Like, what do you think her addiction level was?
Yeah, that's tricky just because there was no actual drug use in the movie, which this may be actually a unique situation, which we have a movie that covers addiction, but there's no actual drug use in it. But I would say previous, she's a 10 based on the events that happen with the Percocets and the intoxicated driving and the little tidbits that they do give you about her addiction and how bad it was. I would say definitely on a scale of 1 to 10 to 10.
I think you're right on the 10. I think in this situation, it's kind of like it's between 3 and 5, depending on where we're at in the movie. Because
Mm-hmm.
most times she's trying to get over it, but when things get real, with that family, it went to a 5 because at that point you're like, it's crazy because the car accident. There's that split in the road. That's kind of what I was looking at when what the addiction was like. Which way is she gonna go? Because you can easily trigger somebody. So you get into an argument with somebody who's an addict, and they're in a bad place. They might just result in going back to that. They'll relapse. Yeah, I would say between 3 and 5. But in her prime, I mean, she was like a heavyweight, champion. The way she was taking Percocets and what happened. Now, was there any point in the movie where you were like, "Stop it, Kim, no more, please"?
Yeah. Um, it's so small. It was before the monologue. It was the smoking at the dinner where her mom was like, that's not fine. You should not be smoking it. And things were going not great for her at that point. So in my mind, I'm actually getting anxiety because I'm like, she's going to trigger a smoke alarm. And it's just going to cause this whole chaos at her sister's dinner. Like, Kim, this is not the time, girl. Read the room. Um, so I would say that was definitely my moment where I was like, Kim.
We're on the same wavelength here because yeah, that's something I would think about too. Like, is it going to set something off? Do you need to smoke that right now? Like, I get it. Can you go outside? For me, what
Mm-hmm.
what it was a stop at Kim moment was when when Rachel and her are having an argument, and then Rachel looks at Sydney. Is like, I'm just gonna say, I'm pregnant, and everyone's kind of let go of what happened, and they're all kind of rejoicing, and Kim is not gonna let it go, and I was like, Kim, read the room, just let it go. And of course she can't, right? She can't, and that
Yeah.
devastates Rachel. And I'm just like, but yeah, that was when I was like, enough, please, like, let's just be
That
happy in
was
this.
my initial feelings was that. And then I kind of let it sit. And it was actually a really jarring scene though. Like that switch.
Mhm.
So I kind of understand Kim's reaction because it's like, how do we go from this to this? And it just felt like, don't judge me, but it kind of felt dismissive to make that switch so jarringly in the discussion, that fight.
Mhm.
Because it's like, I don't know. I feel like I need to kind of delve more into her intentions, Rachel's intentions in that switch. So I get both. I get both perspectives.
Well, don't judge me, but I know what Rachel did. She did a power play. That's a power play. When you know you're not really getting where you need to go in an argument and you need an out and you have to kind of
Yeah,
the biggest card, she knew what that would do. That would diffuse everyone in that situation. Possibly Kim would be the only wild card. And it works. And so I understand both sides, but yeah, that was a power play. It was kind of jarring though, because you're like out of nowhere. Like, this is the time you decide to do it. But that just seemed to me like that's how Rachel's not willing to match Kim's energy in a fight. So she's looking to downplay it after a while. And it's not a bad thing, but I just was like, Kim, in this situation, I think Kim, you're not entirely wrong for being like, why did you do that? But definitely
Wasn't the
maybe
time to address that.
yeah. The whole time we could say that about Kim, right? It's just not the right time. Let's rain check. Like every time she has a moment, I just want to pop up in the scene. Like, Kim, rain check? Okay. Meet you in the back? Perfect. Like, like I just like a PR rep. I just want to be like, nope, we're done. We're done. But
I love that she's not avoidant. It's just I need her to be like that in a therapy session. You know what I mean? It's like we need to channel that at appropriate times.
Actually, speaking of therapy, do you think, well, I think you're probably going to say yes, but I'm still going to ask it. Do you think that Kim needs therapy? And do you think everybody in the family needs therapy as solo and both family? Or one or the other?
Yes. 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 I think each person in that family needs to evaluate their personal feelings on what's happened, as well as addressing other people in the family on their feelings. Yes, that's a very loud yes.
I agree. That's what I kept thinking. I would not have thought about that at the time I saw it in like 2010, maybe I saw it. So like, yeah, 16 years later, it's a different perspective as an adult. But I've always maintained it's best to deal with things instead of pushing it under. Except when it comes to me, then I'm like, let's not deal with me. But everyone else, it's on. But yeah, I once told my aunt that I like confrontation, and she took that as a negative aspect. And I was like, no. Let me explain to you what I mean. I think it's good to talk about things, even if it's uncomfortable, even if we're going to be upset. Maybe we don't come to a full agreement, but we've laid all our cards on the table and we can move on from this, hopefully. If not, we'll come back to it. And she was not happy about that. She was like, that's strange. Like, who would want to be into confrontation? I'm just like, it doesn't always have to be negative. It's just like you did something didn't sit right or something's not right. And you're like, let me have a conversation. I'm not like screaming at these people. I just was like, hey, I didn't like what you did. And people don't want to do that. I'm sure you've experienced this too in your life. The minute you bring something up, people start getting really uncomfortable. And because we as a society allow this stuff to marinate to the point where it eventually, it boils over and it's always done worse, right? When we don't take care of it, especially family. We're so forgiving to family that by time something so minor, it turns into something major, And so, yeah, I'm a firm believer. Everybody should go to therapy. That would really solve the world's problems, especially
At
America
least
too.
once in your life.
Yeah, I was nervous the first time I went, but yeah, the thing about this movie is it makes me appreciate social interaction, like real life social interaction, because we need it because we can avoid a lot of this situations Kim's in if you really kind of, well, one, you're not an addict, and two, if you pay attention to reading the room. So let's see, what else here? Oh, yeah. So it's Rachel's wedding, right? Kim's coming back from rehab, and you find out you're Rachel. You can be honest here. Like, would you really want, I know she's your sister, but would you really want Kim at that wedding? Because you don't know how it's going to go.
Obviously, I would always want my sibling to be at my wedding. However, I would be more considerate of the minefield of triggers that a wedding would bring. But a lot of that, her going straight from rehab into this wedding weekend is the tension of the film. You know what I mean? Me personally, I would be more considerate though of just having someone navigate that minefield of triggers, especially right out of rehab, because it is really important that they stay away from any. So kudos to Kim for ending up where she did at the end of the movie. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, actually, we should give Kim some kudos. Actually, you're right. Let's give her some because, yeah, she could have easily. There are so many times in that movie she could have relapsed. And even if I didn't agree with some of her actions, she still maintained the course. It wasn't easy. And I think that's why she found clarity at the end. would I invite my sibling to a wedding? Let me tell you, Ayana, you have a better chance of going to my wedding than any of my siblings. I haven't spoke to one in 13 years. And then another one, actually, dealing with some of the stuff and Rachel's getting married was kind of therapeutic for me because I remember these conversations I had with siblings. But yeah, I have a very bad relationships with my family because, they don't want to deal with things. So this movie was really good for me because it helped me kind of process more of what I had already been dealing with and being like, okay, it's not all on me, re-looking at situations. Isn't that funny when you watch movies and you start like, I don't know if you do this. I do this all the time with movies. I find movies where I can relate to, or I think it makes me think about things, are some of my favorite movies. I feel it's personal, right? You know what I mean? Would you come to my wedding?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't really have to come. I wouldn't even be offended if you didn't come.
No, I love weddings. I went to 3 weddings last year.
Wow. I've only been to a couple. I don't know if I like them. So maybe I'm going to the wrong weddings because I've always gone and they're just long and I'm just like,
oh man, I just went to one last year in Ireland. It was 12 hours.
Well,
yeah.
It
was awesome though.
Different from ours?
Yeah.
Better?
Yes and no. So they actually tied the knot. It was actually a knot that they tied. That was cool. I actually see that in practice. It was non-dominion, so it wasn't any particular religion. But yeah, it was a good time. I feel like the Irish weddings are longer, similar to how Hindu or Muslim weddings are. Well, those are sometimes multiple days, but I would say it was a lot longer than a traditional American wedding.
That's really cool. Irish wedding, because so you could have went there and had your own version of leap year. You could have met an Irish guy, right? Like if you know the name,
yeah,
that's what I like. Wow, that's pretty cool. I'm a rambler, but back to Rachel.
Oh yeah,
back to Rachel getting married. As we wrap this up, in terms of what they're dealing with in the addiction, did you anticipate how the film or the story or any of the characters would go at the end?
I did think she was going to reconcile with her mother, but I'm also okay with how that worked out. I think it was important for her for it to sometimes be okay to, you may not get the reaction or the forgiveness or whatever from that person. You have to keep carrying on. So after letting that sit, I'm okay with how things work out between her and her mother. But I did originally think they were gonna work it out kind of on the remix there.
Actually, bringing up the mom is a good thing because what did you think about the mom? I'll come back to my answer, but what did you think of the mom and her whole side of the story? It was very tough for me to watch.
Yes, something that hit me while they were having that scene where she kind of addresses her mom's emotional distance, is that when Kim was in the car accident with her brother, she was a minor as well. And I'm like, no one's addressing the fact that it was 2 minors. Like, she was under the age of 18. And, if we are to believe Kim and based on her mother's reaction, it was avoidable. And I think that's where the emotional distance comes from, is the guilt from the mother's end, in that she acknowledges that, she knows that. And that's why she just can't kind of quite be emotionally available to Kim.
I 100% agree. Once you kind of realize how the mom is compared to dad's new, wife, Carol's real involved. Yeah, the mom, their actual mom. Yeah, there's a lot of experiences there for myself as well with my own life. It's very frustrating that they would rather be emotionally distant than deal with the situation at hand because they can't handle it. But yeah, actually, she is a minor. Everyone's giving Kim a hard time, and it's understandable because of what happened. But she wasn't in her right mind, and who allowed that to happen is the parents. And it seems like mom was the culprit really in that whole decision making. And it was heartbreaking to watch Kim and her mom get into it, and then they're slapping each other, and it's very intense, and it doesn't really ever resolve, and it's very tough. And hopefully, like, I'm an optimistic person when it's not me, so I'm hoping that they resolve it. But Ethan's death, let's talk about that. Now, I remember this aspect. I didn't remember how it happened. So it's kind of like a two-part question. What did you think happened to Ethan? And then when you found out what actually happened, like, what was your reaction?
They kind of give it away pretty early. In pretty much the first scene was Sebastian Stan with his cameo performance where he's like, oh, don't kill anyone, drive and kill anyone again. And that kind of lets you know that's what happened. At first I thought that's how she ended up in rehab, right? Because we don't quite know her story yet. And then once we see Kim back in the house when she arrives for the wedding, and you see Ethan's bedroom, which is essentially he's forever enshrined in that house. Like, nothing has changed in that bedroom. He's just forever there, that presence. Then I pieced it together, what happened. Because it was just this, it's very clear it was a bit of resentment and frustration and anger towards Kim that you can't quite, and then the pieces start to fall together. The aspect I didn't anticipate was the whole car seat not being able to get him out. It adds additional layer of guilt for Kim. And that was really heartbreaking because, she already feels guilty, but the fact is it's that last part of her not being able to save him and get him out. That I feel like that would be more haunting, actually.
It is, because it shows that Kim, even though she was so strung out, in that situation, the flight or flight kicks in, and she wants to do the right thing. Is like, hey, I gotta get my brother out of that car seat. And when you can't, there's that struggle where now you know that this outcome is gonna be deadly, and it's gonna be deadly on Kim for the rest of her life, because no matter what, even when she fully processes it, and the family does too, it's always in the mind. It's like, if I could have done this, if I would have done this. I knew, Sebastian Stan, by the way, good to see him in a movie where he was really just in a small role. He was nobody. I hear people complain about him being like, he struggled, he couldn't pay the bills, he was in Marvel. No, he was in Rachel's Getting Married, and he's barely made the credits out of it, okay? And he's really good in it, and I didn't recognize him the first time I saw it, but now when I saw him, I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, he's phenomenal now. He kind of gives you an idea of what's happened. It's just I kind of didn't remember exactly what happens, and it's even more heartbreaking when you find out what they were doing before the accident. Like, they were playing together, and it was devastating. But I love the fact that we kind of have an idea, like you mentioned, but we don't know the full details. And then, like, when we see, like, let's go to this dishwasher contest real quickly. This made me laugh. Was Sydney he's a nice guy, but I don't know if I would have done this. But he's trying to help him, I guess, load the dishwasher better. And I've learned as a guy, the last thing you want to do is kind of say anything to your partner's boyfriend or your father-in-law, or you don't want to, like, say anything that challenges him as a man. So I would never done this, but Sydney is a kind guy, and there's no malice. He's just like, hey, if you did it this way, you could load the dishwasher more, because they're constantly washing dishes. And her dad, you could tell that he was cool, but he was a little upset when he dropped the F-bomb in that. Like, you don't know what the F you're talking about. And they have this dishwasher contest. Let me ask you, do you think that is something you would have done as Sydney? You think you would be like, let me help you load the dishes in a more effective way?
I don't know if I would have taken it that far to a contest. I would have just probably dropped, let me assist. If you don't want it, cool. Only do what you can. I don't know if I would have taken it that far. It very much so was a little smidge misogynistic in that it kind of was like, kind of telling another man how to run their household kind of vibe, and that's why he took offense. But I don't think that was Sydney's intent. However, I get how it could read.
Yes, actually, you read that perfect. Because if I'm in that situation, I'm like, yeah, Sydney didn't mean anything, sir. Sydney, let's just let him do the dishes. Don't worry about it. I don't know why, but guys are like that. They'll get really, it's happened to me too. I didn't do a contest, but I suggested something, and once I found out that was not rolling, I was just like, I'm sorry, and I just never did it again, because I didn't want to deal with it, because I would hear about it later. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. So, yeah, but the whole contest leads to a very traumatic moment for the dad, right? They do this contest, Sydney fails, dad's on a roll, so I don't even know what was going on there. There's no contest, really. And then they get to Kim grabs some dishes, and then as dad's loading it, there's one dish, and I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh no,
That's Ethan's.
And it's a beautiful scene by Jonathan Demme because it's bittersweet. He wins the contest, and everyone's excited for him. They're counting down, but then it feels like time slows down. It goes quiet because I'm looking at dad, and he is emotionally devastated. He hasn't had to deal with this in a while, and that lingering pain, because they say the worst pain ever is to bury your child. That's what I've always my whole life. And he just leaves, and when Kim realizes it, oh, I felt so bad. I was like, Kim can't catch a break when she's not, when she's not making a jerk of herself sometimes. And I was like, oh, poor Kim. But yeah, I would have been with you. No dishwasher contest. Dad can load it any way he wants. I don't care if he wants to do 5 loads. I thought he loaded pretty well. Personally, I thought it was a little overfilled, personally for myself.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to argue with a man in his house, even if it was Sydney's house and Sydney's telling him how to do the dishes. I'm just like, you know what? Just wash them how you want, sir. And then when he leaves, I just tell Rachel, I'm going to rewash the dishes because I didn't like how he did it. I've done it. I'm just like, I read the room as best as I can. And that you and I it sounds like you and I would do really well in most situations in life. We read the room pretty well. We learn to navigate with certain. Now, let's see here. Okay. If you made a list of a top addiction movies, now I know we don't really ever see her do it, but it does deal with addiction. Would you put this in your top list of addiction movies?
I wouldn't, maybe not top 10. However, top 20, yes.
Wow, you watch a lot of addiction-based movies. I was kidding. There is a lot.
I didn't realize that until I saw that question, and I was like, yeah, I have some more I would put above this one, but I wouldn't definitely put it at the bottom. It would still make a top list. It just wouldn't make top 10.
This movie would probably be in mine. Like this and Uncut Gems that I did. Those movies do things to me that I love the movies, but I'm like, I can't watch it all the time because emotionally I'm drained. I'm because I would never be in these situations. That's what it comes down to, is me being like, I would never be in these situations, and I don't want to deal with this because I don't like dealing with stress and anxiety that could be avoided. That's my whole life. If you can avoid stress and anxiety, you'll be better in life. It's just, life's too short to be getting upset and putting yourself through a circus. Out of 100%, what would you give Rachel getting married?
92. Just because I feel like no movie's without fault.
I would probably give this a 91. So I was going to do 90, but 91, because I really love this movie, because if anything you can take away from this movie is there's a lot of themes and there's a lot of things you could really use in your own life that could benefit. Being more understanding with people with addiction, learning to deal with family trauma. And there's so much about this movie that I think, I'm surprised it's not talked about a lot more, because it's really one of the best movies of Anne Hathaway's career. And it's really a gem in the late 2000s. Now that you gave it a 92, now is this a movie you would own and or rewatch in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely own it. Definitely rewatch it just for Anne's performance. I would say I would rank this probably top 5 of Anne's performances for me. If I hadn't seen Mother Mary, I probably would have ranked it top 3.
I gotta see Mother. The way you're talking about it makes me go, I want to see it because of not just her, but I hope I'm saying her name right, Michaela Cole. My whole life now, I'm like, anybody's name right?
No, yeah, she's you nailed really it.
Good. Yeah, phenomenal talent too. Okay, so I own it. I own it. I bought it last year. But let me tell you, did you look at the poster of it and just be like, it's one of those posters that you really wouldn't know what the movie's really about because it's like kind of generic. Like, truthfully,
Yeah.
it's just Anne Hathaway's face on there. Because like when I saw it the first time, I go, "So this is a movie about a wedding?" And then the person was like, "Oh no, oh no, it's more than a wedding. Get ready." But I definitely think that poster or the cover, people will be like, but I'm telling you, if you
Yeah.
see that movie is available to watch if you're streaming it, or if you see it at a secondhand store, or you can buy it on Amazon, I would highly recommend it. And I want to say to you that I appreciate you so much because you helped me close out Addiction Ain't No Joke. And I gotta say, if anybody would have ended it, you picked it the best. And, like, it was a lot of fun. And this concludes Rachel Getting Married, unless you have anything else you would like to say.
I just want to thank you for inviting me over onto the podcast. I love our interactions on Twitter, so of course I was like, game, let's do it. I love talking about movies. I'm a yapper.
If people would like to follow you or find you on social media, and also where they can find your podcast, please share that now.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Twitter, I am at Ayana Monique. On Letterbox, I am Screen Auteur 92, and my podcast is at Fresh Breath of TV on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and I love interacting. And if you have any thoughts, I'm open to them.
I love that you said Twitter because it is Twitter. It will never be X. But I want to
That's what,
also quickly here give you your flowers. You're one of the nicest people I've had interactions with. I say this a lot, but I mean this sincerely with everybody that's come on. But you are a very positive beacon in the film community. I've had a lot of great experiences, and a lot of it's with you because you really love movies. You love to talk about them clearly. You dedicated 2 hours to do this with me, so I appreciate it. But you're always nice, and I think we need people like yourself. And I say this, I know I'm a broken record. I say this all the time, but I mean this sincerely. If it wasn't for people like you, I don't think I would bring the podcast back. Because I was so done. I was like, man, the world sucks. People suck. And then, I talked to you and others in my section of the film community, and I'm like, it's not so bad. It's not so good, but it's not so bad because there's a lot of nice people around, that love the same things I love. They're passionate about it. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. But anyways, Ayana, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I hope you had a good time. I hope you come back. And please follow her, check out her podcast. She's really good at this, I'm telling you. And she's also wonderful to talk about movies with.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for having me on. I will be back hopefully next month, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayana, for coming on to the show. It was a blast talking with you. And thus concludes another episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies. If you like what you heard, definitely follow the show. It's available on every podcast app you can think of. Amazon, Apple, Spotify. I'm on something called Deezer, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and so many more. When you hit follow, you'll immediately be alerted when we drop new episodes. If you're on the YouTube side, you like the video format, definitely subscribe and then hit the bell notification to stay up to date when we drop new episodes. And you can find the YouTube if you're not familiar with it. It's youtube.com/at the actual thing. I'll hit my hat real quick. At TOC Movies. Anyways, you can follow Tomorrow Comes Movies on social media at TOC Movies on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, and TikTok. And if I mess this up, just go to the show notes wherever you get your podcast at, even on YouTube. There's a link tree. It'll take you to everything, so you don't have to type it out. And that about wraps it up. I am the Patrick, your host. Stay tuned for another episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies.